This last lecture, we are going to kind of talk about some steps you're going to take with your client to help them in this long-term behavior change, and then also maybe if it ends and what you should do when you are no longer working with a client and how to end that process. So let's go ahead and just start by thinking about how we should evaluate and adapt with our clients. So as health coaches, we need to make sure that we support our clients as they navigate the health behavior change process, right? And really that process is including unfolding paths towards goal attainment, because that's the end goal, right? So we need to help them with adjusting goals, adapting action steps, and then tracking progress and overcoming struggles. So we can do this by providing feedback. So the coach may thoughtfully request the client's permission to provide feedback. So this could be, for instance, if there was a moment where you felt like you really wanted to help them, you could say, would it be valuable to receive some feedback on this? And sometimes feedback can come from the client to the coach, right? And they can say things like, what was the most valuable part of the session today? Or as a coach, you could say, what can I do differently to best support you? So feedback works both ways for you as a coach to the client and then vice versa. But when you're providing feedback, it's really important that when you're providing feedback for your client, you focus on behaviors, you convey genuine sense of non-judgment, that's really important, and remembering that this feedback can be directed at the coach or the client. So self-monitoring is a skill that it's helpful for a client to learn, right? And self-monitoring is an individual's evaluation of their thoughts and feelings and how that information is then used to shape their goals and their behavior. And self-monitoring is a process of self-regulation. And it happens that it occurs when it encompasses self-control and involves resisting impulsive behavior and making choices that align with one's values and vision. Now, stimulus control is a helpful tool in that self-monitoring process. And stimulus control is the thought of altering the environment to encourage healthy behaviors, making action steps, completions, and goal attainment as seamless as possible. This stimulus control can also be used to explore our clients' cues, their triggers, or situations that may encourage engaging in unwanted behaviors. So similar to willpower, self-control is a limited resource, and relying on it too heavily can make behavior change challenging, really, really hard to occur, right? So as such, health coaches can support our clients to cultivate an environment that is conducive to success by helping our clients with stimulus control. So it's worth noting that problem solving often evolves naturally from self-monitoring. So as a client becomes more aware of the situations that move them towards or steer them towards their goals. So through self-monitoring, clients can articulate new action steps and adjust plans as needed to promote continued progress. So again, stimulus control, and an example of this could be as simple as packing their lunch beforehand, right, before the next day, or removing unhealthy foods in their home, or things like that, right? Stimulus control can be really, really helpful in that self-monitoring process. So it's also important for us to help our clients overcome barriers and setbacks. So health coaches can work with our clients to mobilize internal resources, leverage their strengths, and devise new ideas to overcome those challenges so that they can keep moving forward. It's really helpful for coaches to acknowledge with the clients that long-term behavior change is always going to involve steps forward, steps back, and then steps forward again, right? This forward and back and forward process is really, really normal, especially in long-term behavior change. So it's important for the health coach and the client to celebrate the client's efforts and to focus on the insights gleaned from the learning experiences. So not just to say, hey, it's a forward and backwards process, but it's a forward and backwards process that we're going to learn from. So those backward steps, we're actually going to learn some. So you can ask them questions like, what have you learned from this experience that will help you going forward? So that will spin that for your client so that they can kind of see, oh, hey, you know what, maybe this, even though I saw it as a negative, as a step back, maybe it actually is positive because I've learned something from it. So that involves shifting perspectives, right? So although setbacks occur regularly, one of the most transformative aspects of coaching is this opportunity for us as coaches to awaken the client so that they can see things from a new, more positive perspective. And again, this is as opposed to seeing challenges and lapses as failures or shortcomings as them as a human. The coaches can then support our clients in reframing their perspective by asking, what is another way of looking at this? And so we can shift or help our clients shift perspectives by trying to help them reduce negative self-talk, overcoming cognitive distortion. So we see lapses, skipping a scheduled workout or something like that as a solvable problem, not an indicator of failure. And that's an important thing because a lot of people will see a lapse as failure rather than something that they can problem solve. So in addition to reducing negative self-talk, we need to help them overcome this cognitive distortion. And again, we've talked about that before in the past. And then we can also help them shift their perspective by building their resilience through more positive emotional regulation and positive emotional experiences. So we can also have them move more towards self-reliance. And the ultimate goal of the health coach is to enhance the dependence on their own client's power. So your client's powers, your client's capabilities, and their resources. The end game is not for us to continue to need to coach our clients for the rest of their lives. If that's the case, we probably didn't do our jobs well enough, right? The end goal of a health and wellness coach is to help our clients discover and develop the skill set to be able to do all of this on their own. Typically, in order to move towards self-reliance, it can take up to 3 to 4 months to really do this well. But again, that's dependent on the client, okay? There are times, like I mentioned earlier, where you as a coach and as a client, your clients themselves might even determine, hey, you know what, it's time. We need to terminate the coaching agreement. It is an inevitable part of the process, and it can end on a positive note. Just because you're ending your coaching agreement doesn't mean something bad went wrong, right? Or something went wrong. We should include an exploration of the ongoing sources of support. So for instance, I've had a long-term client that kind of comes and works with me for a few months and then goes and then comes back and then goes. And every time she comes back, before she's ready to go again, one of the things we always talk about and explore is what sources of support do you have? And then lastly, it's really important that we kind of end on this positive reflection, right? So kind of frame some positive experiences in reflection. So what went well? What can you remember? What can you lean on? What can you celebrate? What future things can you celebrate? And then gratitude. So frame that positive experience by thinking about reflections, celebrations, and gratitude. So let's pause here and do our last learning recap for this lecture. What are some things to consider regarding giving or receiving feedback as a coach? What does the term stimulus control refer to, and why is it important in the health coaching process? And then lastly, how many months does it take typically for a client to see a shift in their self-reliance? We will pause here, and I will see you for the next set of lectures.